Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome to Unearthed with me, your host, Mr. Philadelphia. How you doing, everybody? Today, it's going to be a fun one. It's Halloween, kind of, but that's what we're going. That's the theme because we're going to put it out like a week before that happens. So even though everything's awful and we don't feel like celebrating. But anyway, so naturally, if you're familiar with this channel, we're going to go deep into the horror here. And I wanted to get a horror enthusiast to give me a hand with this. So please welcome my guest for tonight, Hailey Elizabeth. Hailey, welcome.
Hi. I'm very excited to do this. I'm a big horror fan, and there's very few bad horror movies to me because even the bad ones are great. So
okay,
I'm very excited for this. So
you don't know what we're watching today, correct?
No.
Okay, so the movie I wanted to watch is actually one of my favorites from last year. It's Girl on the Third Floor, which is, I think it's still just available on Netflix. It's right there. First-time director Travis Stevens, who's been a longtime producer actually for a lot of years. Produced like Jodorowsky's Dune and some other random stuff, but this time he's actually behind the camera, writing, directing. It stars one CM Punk Phil Brooks, who's a majority of the movie. It's about a guy who's a husband who's fixing up a house, and spooky things ensue. I don't want to give too much away because I'd rather let the movie do that. So
the classic haunted house tale.
Kinda, yeah. Although, it's good. Yeah, this one's gonna be a little weird. So I thoroughly enjoyed it when I watched it. I have only seen it the one time, so I'm looking forward to watching it again. All right. So are you ready to partake in this year's Halloween extravaganza? I have no nickname for this, so we're just doing a horror episode.
We're ready to see a bunch of blood and guts?
Maybe. All right. So anyway, that'd be super great. So with that said, we will take a break. We'll go watch the movie. This is where we cue the trailer, and then we'll be back afterwards. See you soon.
Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. So how's the house coming along?
It's been hard. Cooper!
Certain places have personalities, and sometimes they're rotten.
Hey, how's the little kicker doing?
It takes a real strong hand to turn them around again. This house has a history of bringing out the worst in people.
Certainly creepy.
What the hell is that?
Promise me you won't say a word to Liz about last night.
You need to get out of here.
What was that?
What?
Hi, handsome.
I hate what you've done with the place.
I'm worried. Stop! Charlie.
You want to help me?
Nope.
Don is the proud owner of Portsmouth's former house of ill repute.
You know when a woman doesn't like to be futzed with too much?
I don't want to see you here ever again.
Houses aren't that different, I guess. You want my advice? Get your husband and your baby far away from that house.
And we're back. All right. So, Hailey, that was Girl on the Third Floor. What are your initial impressions? So,
A lot of bodily fluids. Oh my god.
Yeah, you know,
I said I was excited to see blood and guts, thinking that was going to be one of those kind of movies, and those are not the bodily fluids I saw.
everything else, pretty much.
Everything else.
Everything else. Kind of like the I don't even want to like whatever's dripping out of those light sockets or the power outlets. I don't want to go in.
Light sockets.
I don't want to talk about it. So it's just so anyway, well, we can talk about it though, because I got a lot of notes here. I do love all the different shots of just like the house over the credit. I love the Gothic lettering, by the way, the Gothic metal lettering. I was like, nice touch. And then one thing I picked up on this time that I missed the first time was I noticed in the music section, Steve Albini, and I got all excited. Who's like a producer from the 90s. He did a lot of like, he famously did Nirvana's In Utero. He was like the producer on that. So, like, yeah, some good pedigree. I was like, oh, yeah, that's why this soundtrack slaps as much as it does good stuff. So, and then I really love the opening shot of the second we're past the credits, the pull-out zoom of Don entering the house, looking suspiciously like Ash from Evil Dead.
I was thinking that the whole time. He looks like if Bruce Campbell was in like a metalcore band.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure that wasn't on some kind of weird accident, but I do love just the pull-out zoom shot. Him walking in, flipping the light switch, the light just like right out, and he's like, yeah, of course. Okay. And he's got like this dinky ass little tool bag. And then like this.
Yeah, I was very confused because they're there to fix the house, and he just has like, oh yeah, I can do this entire like manor with this little toolkit.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a wonderful setup for the kind of guy that he is. It's like he's not taking anything seriously. He is not prepared for anything in front of him. And you know, he just sets himself up to fail. Like within the first 5-10 minutes, all of that manages to come across. So, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And I mean, kudos to CM Punk. I mean, like, he's got to do a lot of heavy lifting in the first 2/3 of this movie because he is a majority in the house by himself, or he's like barely any interaction. So he's really got to like sell you on what's happening.
That and Cooper.
Cooper. We'll get there. We will get there. So I love that the first thing he does though is shove his hand into the black goo hole.
Yeah, because if I see a black goo hole, the first thing I think of is, oh yeah, let me just see what it feels like.
I don't think it is, dude. Just gloves, dude. Gloves. Just put some gloves on. I'm not just touching that random stuff. And then he goes from that to the jizz puddle on the floor. Oh, man, this house is nasty. They really, really made this house nasty. I gotta, like, admit. Like, it looks like...
house.
Yeah, it looks like any abandoned house I've ever managed to sneak my way into. It really does. Like, it is just, like, everything is just... What's that?
Use condoms and all?
Oh, no, just like everything is old and weird, and every room is a different color. Everything is dry. Everything is just like,
you can smell the mildew through the screen.
You really could. And then I think it's just everything is dry and muted. And then when everything wet happens, it's just extra gross. Like, what's this movie? Like an hour and 30?
It went by super fast.
I mean, it is a lean movie. This movie has no fat. It just, it's weird. It's a weird balance of it moves quick, but it also takes its time setting everything up.
Yes.
But it's smart with the way that it does it. And that's kind of what I like about it. And for a first-time director, writer, you know, like this is the first movie this guy's ever done. I would have, for sure, this guy's done like 50 movies by now, like in this genre.
He's starting off strong.
Yeah, no, this is a guy that gets this. Like you could tell he's like he's sort of like a student of that, like that area. Like he gets it. He knows what works, and it really comes through. Like every shot has like a meaning to it, and it's just God, I love this. I really did like this movie a lot. But let's talk about what a shitbag Don is.
I can go on for days about this man.
It was a nice touch to where he comes off almost like the hapless everyman, and like when we first meet him, and because like he's got to do a good job of pulling us in. Like maybe you could pull this off, and then just the more we're with him, the worse he gets, and the more we learn, the more awful he is.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
totally had it coming.
No, he totally does. Everything that happens to him, it's like way ahead. I'm sorry. So let's see. We got the. I think the first instance of like this guy's not wound right is the drill freakout at the jizz outlet, where he's trying to drill and then he's just like way over next to a drill not working. And I'm like, fucking, what are you doing, dude?
The first call with his wife.
And what's the first thing he's doing? Lying about like having like alcohol in the house. And I'm like, fucking dude, come on, man. Like this poor woman who's like pregnant and alone, and like you're gonna like try to like go fix up this house that you clearly do not know what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And he's like too pig-headed and stubborn to admit that he doesn't know what he's doing. And and then we get the first meeting with the pastor. And it was like such a nice introduction of like, you get the sense that she's trying to help him out. Like,
and that's usually like, normally when you see that like pastory type of overlooking the suburbs character, something's really wrong with them. And they're usually the one you have to look out for. But in this one, no, she actually seems to actually want to help. She just knows her help is useless.
Yeah, because she knows that Don's a lost cause. Yeah, and I love that there's just all like subtle hints to who he used to be before he got to this house, and how this guy was always bad news. And it was a good job of just build, and then they finally hit you with it way later in the movie. But that's like the third act. So, because like Act 1 and 2 are done. It's all done.
Yeah.
And like, okay, let's talk about some of the other stuff first.
Ooh, the other stuff.
Oh God, Jesus! I wrote down a bunch of stuff. First off, I would not plug anything into that jizz outlet. That's just me. I feel like that's a fire hazard.
And again, why do the outlets and switches look like that?
Why is it? I don't know. Like there were some choices in that.
Someone had to craft those frames.
I'll tell you right now, though, if there is some kind of Etsy store that's making Girl on the Third Floor outlet covers, I want one.
I need them.
Someone out on the internet make me a Girl on the Third Floor outlet cover, please. Just without the fluid supply. I don't need that. But
I want the fluid supply and everything.
Yeah, I just want the wood outline. Like that's just lovely. So, so we quickly descend into like house by way of an unknown origin kind of story that unfolds. And then we meet, after we meet the pastor, we meet Sarah. It was after the pipes took a dump on CM Punk's face. It's the only way I could describe whatever that was. Oh God, everything that breaks in this house just is so gross. It really is.
I looked up like what kind of fluid like in real life those could possibly be.
I don't want to hear what your research like uncovered, but go ahead.
So some suggestions for eggs. Egg, cornstarch, sour cream, and water. Then there was coconut oil that was like melted down to a certain point.
Yeah.
And then there was just a mix of like water and yogurt.
Okay.
All of which sounded disgusting, and I don't know why, but I was so like obliged to look up and see what this could possibly be. Yeah.
Oh God, especially when we get to the shower scene. That's just like, but even like right before that, like
the viscosity was like,
yeah. Oh. But it's like him going out on the jog, taking Cooper the dog for a run, and what's he doing? He's like breaking his neck, checking out every woman like while he's running along. I'm like, Jesus, dude. Like it's just like subtle hints to what a jackass this guy is. And
Cooper for not having to like need like a leash or anything. He was just like,
yeah.
He's pretty well trained.
I figured Don would have been a lot more upset considering he had to like get mad at the dog because he tried to jerk off in front of him. Like that was
the ultimate cockblock.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that was weird. God. And then we got the weird bowling alley guy scene, which I actually really enjoyed.
I love the bowling bartender.
I love that bowling alley. I want to go if that's a real because it looks like a real place. Like I want to go there. I love that dude. He's so good.
The one when he's like, "Oh yeah, the erotic pottery class person," and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, I'm a feminist too," and he's like, "Oh, cheers to that."
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, Don is not a feminist. He is totally not.
Like, how dare you?
I know. So that was a nice piece of just like him trying to get acclimated to what is around him. I like that. Like anytime it's just him, he is isolated. Even when he's trying to go out and do something, it is just him. And when we go back later on, when Milo's with him, that place is bumping. And it's like, I don't know, just like weird, like little, like nice touches that I noticed like this time around.
And one thing I noticed was like, especially in that bar scene with Milo, was that Milo was really good at engaging in conversation.
Yeah.
And they were going on the real back and forth, and they seemed to be like getting along. And Don's just sitting there the whole time, just making faces of like either disgust or annoyance or confusion.
Yeah, this guy just has no time for anybody else. So, like, he's like, and especially in that conversation, like, it comes through, it's like he's just like really selfish when it's not about him, you know, and he just gets bored and he checks out. And then he goes home and then he goddamn has sex with Sarah. And I'm just like, God damn it, Don, what are you doing? Like, as soon as this happens, like I remember
her name first.
Oh, yeah, we'll get it. Yeah. And then I'm like, you're gross. And then he's like proud of it afterwards.
Yeah, he was like, oh my God, that was hot.
Well, no, I love that he's like Cooper's giving him, I don't know how they managed to get a dog to give him a stink eye, but the dog's giving him a stink eye. And then he's just like, hey, I earned that. I'm like, fucking, how did you earn that? And then the roof caves in. And like every time he does something like that, some effed up thing happens in this house. And it's like a wonderful actions have consequences parable, but the house is taking it on him and he's taking it on the house and vice versa.
And just like his reactions, I mean, even as you go into the movie, I'm saying even now, you just see his reactions to any type of situation.
Yeah.
The way that they reveal his character in pieces.
Yeah.
Is super telling because you don't see that much dialogue with Don. It's usually just conflicts with himself in the house.
Yeah.
And you just see him breaking a little more and a little more and a little more.
Yeah. And the house keeps pushing and pushing. And then there's then we have like the pastor come back again. And you can tell she's really trying to reach out to him. And Don has no time. Like he just does not care. Because his mind's made up. And they get into that a little later. But I do love when Milo first shows up. When he looks at like everything Don has, like, this is all the stuff you have to work on this house.
Yeah, I feel like he's very much like the audience.
Yeah.
In this movie, of like, he's the one like, wait, you're not paying me. I have all this set up just to bring with me, just to help you, thinking you have everything else, and that's all you have.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for free.
Yeah. And then a little more of the onion of Don. He's revealing like, hey, all the money I made you over the years is the least you could do me. And I'm like, what were you up to, man? Like, because they keep making mentions to, King Don and all this. And I'm like, oh, you did something seriously wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just like, and then we have the whole second act of like the building tension between him and Sarah, because Sarah keeps showing up. And then he is trying to get rid of her. And then the confrontation, like, the morning after when Milo's there and he's like pulling her aside and then he's like, listen. And she's like, it's Sarah. And I'm like, you absolute dick.
I can't remember exactly what she said, but when she's like, chill out, dude, or like,
don't make it weird.
Like, relax. Oh yeah, don't make it weird. I had to cackle at that point because I'm like, he's so intense. Yeah. He's literally threatening her, and she's just like,
why are you doing this?
Here, bring it down here.
Yeah. It would have been great if she would just be like, don't get so emotional. Like, that would have just been a nice touch for there. So that's, and then right after that is the jizz in the mouth dream that he has.
Oh
God! Every time something leaks on him in this house, it's just like the nastiest thing. Like
part of too much stuff on him.
Oh God! Part of me is like, well, good, but also part of me is like, fuck. Like every time.
Too many real life people like him.
Yeah, and then there's the whole blow up with him and Milo, and then Milo gets jacked up. Like he's like the first real on-screen any kind of violence that we see, and it's him, and she cracks his like good job of the effect too. There was a gaping hole where his eye used to be from the hammer shot to the face. Like I
felt that one.
I know, I did too. No, and then, but I think what made it harder to watch was what felt like 5 minutes of him crawling away trying to escape this. And then we got the weird kid at the top of the steps with the mouth on her head.
The way she's like, are you going to help me or what?
And then they pan up to that, like, what?
That's when I was like, okay, we're in for something good.
Yeah, because I know, like, and I was reading about it, apparently that image, I think her name is like Sadie. I got to double check that. But yeah. So she's actually hidden all throughout the house throughout the movie. I know there's like one or two scenes where I spotted her before.
The scene where Sarah's like, oh, do me a favor.
Yeah.
And then you see Cooper run to the door. You see a shadow. You can't see her, but you see a shadow underneath Cooper walking back and forth. And
there's a scene where he's like walking around the house and she's clearly in like one of the mirrors, which is another thing that's always around. Like I feel like there's like a lot of mirrors. Yeah. Which I think plays into a lot there. I don't want to speculate because I have no theories on that, but I'll go into that a little bit because I have something on it though. We need to talk about the worst thing that happened in this film, and we need to talk about the after effects of Don being a dick to Sarah, and then Sarah's retaliation to Cooper. So, should have opened up with a content warning. Luckily, you don't see what happens, but Don finds Cooper in the dryer, and I'm like, "Fuck you, movie." Oh, that was mean. That was a mean thing to do.
And all you see is, hey, Cooper, hey, bud, come here. Cute and gentle. And then you hear, oh, my God, my dog's in a dryer.
Yep. So, and then we have the cop show up who gives a fuck about Don's problems. Well, he's like, oh, it's a girl named Sarah. She lives in the neighborhood, but I don't know her last name or whatever. Aren't you going to do something? He's like, yeah, get rid of that King Don.
What she looks like, or like anything she said that could like make a lead.
Because it's not him, so why should he have paid attention?
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh God. Like wait. It's at this point in the movie, I'm like, I really hope you get whatever's coming to you, like right now, because you are just the absolute worst. And this is where it all falls off the cliff for him, because then he gets the first off. Jesus Christ, hold on, I got some stuff here. Yeah, because he's talking to the whole conversation where he's apologizing to Sarah. And he's like, like, I love my wife, and I'm like, no, you fucking don't.
The first call that they had, I don't know if it was the first or the second call that they had, he immediately hangs up, and he has the tab for like that Daddy King site open right up already.
Immediately ready to go. Yeah.
Waiting for it.
He's so ready to jack. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. That's jerked off, literally. But
yeah.
And then the whole like, yeah. Well, is it though? I don't know. And I love where he's just apologizing, and Sarah's right through it. She's like, "Did you rehearse that?" Like, because it doesn't sound like it's because he's not being genuine. Like, we know he's not. Yeah, it's a means to an end. And he's like, I made up, it's in the kitchen.
You have to forgive me, blah, 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 blah.
Murder. He just straight up caves her skull in.
It was a very quick scene, too. Just
I know, but not, it was quick, but it was also just violent sounding.
Like you don't see any build up to it. Like there's no like building up music. You don't see like the sledgehammer at any point before. You just whack.
Boom. And then we linger on his just unfazed like expression of
Okay,
like, he's
step.
not remorseful. He's like, well, this is what I did. And he immediately goes to do, let's wrap this body up. Let's dump some lye on it. I'm going to just I'm like, holy shit. Like you planned this out, dude. You're messed up. Like,
and then his wife calls and
then what does he do? He flips out.
He bother to like clean the blood off of his
No.
face.
And then he flips out on her because he thinks he's going to get caught because like Milo knows he was fucking around even though Milo's dead, but he doesn't know that. And then he's taking it out on this poor like wife.
Milo said we need to talk. Which like, if you didn't incriminate yourself then,
you really did that time.
Now.
Oh God. So then he finds the creepy rape room in the attic. And that's where I'm like,
oh, all those drawings. If you like look in the background of like the ones that they didn't focus on.
I don't want to. Yeah, I'm fine. And then he drills the hole in the wall where he shoots the camera down, and then we see Sadie in the wall. And then I'm like, right there. Time to go.
Yeah.
Just get out.
If you have no.
I mean, I would have left a long time ago. I'm like, no, the outlet's coming. I'm gonna fucking get out of here. But like, right there.
Fluid, we're leaving.
No, something with teeth in its head, like as in top of their head, moved around the wall. Time to get out. And that's when the wall starts breaking apart and whatever's in the red wall starts like pulsating. And I'm like, fucking, this is getting crazy. And that's where we find Milo's dead body. And then we have the marble scene.
And seeing all the marbles before.
Yeah, because that's the thing I always forget, like, because they're just randomly around the house. And then right into his leg. And then he's just, this was the part I was like, I had a hard time with it. Because he is like.
Eye Socket one.
Yeah, that one too, but just all of them. Because it's just him like taking a box cutter to his own skin, trying to cut this marble out that keeps moving. And I'm like, oh, God. But that eye one, especially when he pushed it out and you hear it pop, and I'm like, oh, I felt that, like, oh, like,
I mean, like a lot of people that have more people than you would expect that have actual like literal triggers when it comes to seeing eye trauma.
Yeah, I have a few friends that are like that. Yeah, I'm
like, oh no, maybe should skip over this part. Because I don't have a problem with it, and even I was like, this is it.
Like, I know Don's is like an awful human being, but Jesus Christ. But I mean, I don't feel sorry for him at this moment.
I myself for having to see it.
Yeah. And that's where my favorite aspect of this movie happens, because at an hour and 5 minutes, Don's gone, and we shift to Liz. And Liz is the third act. And I was like, I remember the first time I was like, wait, he's just not in this movie anymore. And we're just going to focus on her now. And I was like, and bravo, that is, I can't remember the last time I saw something like that happen, where you just like, 2/3 through the movie, like, now we're going to follow this person, because fuck this guy. So, like, instead of focusing on this guy, like, I think we took him basically as far as he's going to go, and let's focus on the woman that's been wronged for, like, 2/3 of this film.
And even before the movie even happened.
Pretty much, yeah. So, and then we focused on her. And I love every goddamn minute of her in this house.
She outacts everyone in the movie.
She really does. Like, CM Punk does a great job. So does Sarah. Don't get me wrong. But, oh my God. Like, hold on. Wait, what is her name? Because I feel like I'm gonna butcher this name, and I feel bad. Tristy Kelly Dunn. Liz. So Liz fucking owns the second she walks through the door. Like, she walks in and she's just like, I love the scene where she's on the toilet. It's like, yeah, I'm not creeped out at all by this house. No, I don't know.
The second she sees the mirror and she's like, oh, hell no.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not happening. And then she pulls the tentacle hair out of the sink. And she's just got zero time for all.
Left.
Yeah.
It dealt with one of the things that Don did.
Yeah. So anyway, she doesn't, because the movie has to happen. But then it's also her turn with the pastor lady, who comes and talks to her, and then they briefly chat, and then I think Liz has finally concluded something's wrong because Don's phone's still there, dog's gone, like she's like a little weirded out, and I love that Don's whole backstory is this is the scene where it's presented, and she goes to the pastor's office, and then we learn about Don and like everything that Don has put her through, and I really love that it's her perspective on Don's like just bullshit.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Being fraudulent with people's retirement money.
Yeah, and I'm like, why did you stay with this guy? Like, and then she even says, she's like, and she explains it, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I just like at this moment, I'm like, fucking Liz, I am now. Yeah, but now I'm like rooting for Liz. I'm like, I want Liz to root. I want her to get to the end, especially because she's like, what, 6 months pregnant at this point in the film? But then we get to the house party scene where all the ghosts come out.
Ooh.
When she goes back into the house and everything gets all vaudevillian. What's that?
The weird mustache ghost.
Oh, that was
mustache was like too big for his face.
Yes, that was wonderful. It was super good. And oh man, so we basically get the sense of the house was a brothel, and ill repute is just not even the word of the stuff that happened in this house. It was pretty horrific. So
this took me back to the beginning of the movie when Don first goes to the bar, and one of the first things the bartender asks him is, "Are you queer?"
Yeah.
And then, this house has a problem with straight men. And all I could think of was like, okay, if two gay men at this house, the story would have never happened. Because could you imagine like this woman trying to seduce two men that would never be attracted to her?
Yeah, not happening. Well, they even said
that would be the funniest movie.
And I do like the explanation from the pastor. Just like, I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen people live there years and be fine, and then I've just seen people, who were broke before they got here, and it just made it worse. And all right, this is kind of goofy, but I do love. So and it's the final when everything's really ramped up now, and then Sarah's Don shows back up, all jacked up, like cut all over the place. And I love the scene where he's just like explaining, like, I fucked up. Like, I fucked up again. I just again. And he's just like, like, I need you to forgive me. And she's like, fucking no.
Her shift of fear
to just disgust
to anger.
Yeah.
And then to finally like kind of almost finding her own closure of like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, like
you don't have an option, but
I can't fix you. This is over. And then where he cuts his own face and then pulls it off, and it's Sarah wearing Don.
Transition.
That's great effect, like fantastic. And it's her trying to leave, and then Sadie's coming through the black hole, like. And I don't know why. It cracked me up. Where it's like Sadie finally pops out. She looks around. All of a sudden she looks up. There's Sarah. Sarah's like, nope. And just crushes her head. You're like, nah, no. I don't know why I found that as funny as I did. That was good.
There are just so many scenes in this movie that are just so jarring. You can't help but laugh.
The whole movie keeps you like... like you're never comfortable watching anything. Like everything is always disorienting or jarring, or just like it's always like a shift. Whether it's the music, whether it's the camera angles, and everything. Like they do a fantastic job with that. And so our movie wraps after that with Sarah giving birth. She has a little baby. She's fucking still in that house, though.
That baby
Why?
was short CM Punk.
Yeah. And then CM Punk is up dropping marbles into the baby's crib, like from the air vent.
Frightening. None of them hit her head.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, please, I cannot see a baby get hit in the head with such a hard, like, coming up force of a marble. I can't do that.
Yeah, no, baby's fine. The baby's fine. So, baby's fine. Liz is fine because Liz rules. Let's just face it right now. Liz is the best. And that's
the whole concept of being, like, haunted by your own dad
while
you're growing up.
That's especially if you find out your dad's just a sack of garbage. So, yeah, I mean, that's much. So, anyway, so that was Girl on the Third Floor. And I was talking about this earlier with you before we were recording. I wanted to find it. So, I found a tweet from the director, Travis Stevens, and he wrote down a bunch of golden rules for the film.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one. So the two things which I thought was interesting, like he said this is a film about temptation and weakness. And I mean bravo. Yeah, I could almost say this is like a film like as an indictment against toxic masculinity, and then maybe actually, taking responsibility. But that's the thing I like about it. This, is like way open to interpretation, but it's rules 8 and 9 is the house is dry on the surface, wet on the inside. Yeah. But here we go. Number 8. This house fucks.
So I saw a Letterboxd review.
Yeah.
For this movie, and this is the number 1 review, and it's definitely number 1 for a reason.
Okay.
I cannot overstate the sheer obsession this film has with the viscosity of cum, to the extent to I watch out of the cinema feeling as if I had some stuck in my hair.
Yeah, good job. Everyone did a great job today, like for that one. So, anyway, we've been at it for a while now. We could probably feel good to wrap up. So, I guess, final thought: would you recommend?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I could see people thinking it's a great movie, I could see people thinking it's a terrible movie, but no matter what, I can see it as an entertaining experience.
Yeah. I mean, if you are not a horror fan, this movie is not for you. But if you are, seek it out. Honestly, I love this movie. Like this is just like my kind of wheelhouse horror. I loved every minute of it. I can't wait to see what this guy does next. I mean, after the strength of like this directorial debut, I'm going to be interested to see what he's got down the pike coming in the future. So, 13 out of 5 stars for The Girl on the Third Floor. Absolutely. So that's the rating. Anyway, that is our show. Hailey, this is where we give everyone a chance to, plug. Where can people find you? What do you got going on?
So I don't have much going on right now, but if you want to follow my Letterboxd, just look up Hailey Kenny and I should be there. If you go under members, I make very short, pointed, dumb reviews. And if you like that, then follow me. Other than that, I don't really have much anything coming up. So, Bill, where can we?
Nobody does. We're in a pandemic, so nobody's doing anything. So. Watch Girl on the Third Floor. I don't know. And I am your host, Philadelphia. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PhiladelphiaPA, but I'm never really on Twitter because it's a cesspool. It is. I don't want to get into it, but you can follow my Instagram and it's just pictures.
Twitter's just the third floor of the internet.
I mean, a little bit. So, or you could just follow my Instagram. It's just pictures of my food and cats. And memes, and that's it. That's it. You'll never see my face on it. And also, please like, subscribe. Feature Presentation Productions. A lot of good stuff going on. There's teams matches for trivia every Sunday, where 2 random teams are put together. There's fantasy film fights with the incomparable Peggy Goblins every Wednesday. Yes. Also, there is other random show. There's Chance Lunch. There's random games. There's also, I think it's Redbubble. I think there's Redbubble store.
There is a Redbubble store. And
Yes, it's either Redbubble or one of those other sites. It's one of them. Well, there you go. Always pick Rocky.
Stickers, mugs, hoodies, whatever you want.
Yeah, we got merch. Fucking get it. Let's do it. And, like, subscribe. The call to action. Like, everyone knows what to do. So, anyway, I've been your host, Philadelphia, reminding you that in life there are no right answers, but there are wrong ones. And take care. Happy Halloween. Have a good night.
Shut up and sit down.